day after day that he's just another Liberal. Yesterday, the Liberals rejected our Conservative motion to eliminate all taxes on fuel for the whole year. Why is the Prime Minister refusing to give breathing room to Canadians? The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives have been rejecting all of our projects to help Canadians. Tax reductions, dental plan, GST reductions. And they also voted against the removal of the excise tax on fuel. And they voted against the removal of the carbon tax. But my colleague wants to compare. So let's compare. Salaries in Canada have increased by 4.7% over the last year since the Prime Minister came to power. In the States, 3.5%. The Honourable Member from Mégantic-L'Érable, Lotbinière. Canadians continue to pay their fuel 20% more than Americans, Mr. Speaker. Despite all these lovely measures he's put forward, have groceries gone down? Has fuel gone down? Has the cost of housing gone down? Have people used food banks less? The answer is no. Despite all those supposed measures, Canadians are getting poorer. Why? Because Liberal inflationist policies are expensive, and so everything becomes expensive and people can't make ends meet. Where are the beautiful promises made on affordability by this Liberal Prime Minister? The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House. Mr. Speaker, I didn't even finish with my very encouraging statistics. The member knows full well, otherwise he needs a better researcher, that inflation in Canada in February 2026 was at a mere 1.8%. So low, at the lowest part of the Bank of Canada's target range. We're creating jobs, we're building the country, and we're doing this with workers and Canadian materials. Canadian workers will build an incredibly strong Canada whilst making sure that quality of life and wages go up.
Member for Thornhill.
It's a tale of two Canadas under this Prime Minister, one where your portfolio grows and the other where your paycheck shrinks. The government's own data confirms it. The wealth gap is widening and nearly half of Canadians are $200 within insolvency. That's what the inflationary Liberal taxes and spending does. It makes gas and groceries and everything else more expensive. And yesterday, Conservatives put forward a plan to remove all of the federal taxes on gas and diesel, and the Liberals voted against that. Do they love the tax that much, or do they just hate that the idea came from Conservatives?
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, we're not waiting for the Conservatives. We've already cut taxes by 28 cents a litre. That's not it. We've cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. We've cut the GST. We've introduced the groceries and benefits benefit. And we've reduced the cost of a home in my riding and in all of Ontario by $200,000.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
He could have cut the taxes by 25 cents 2 days ago, and he chose not to. Yet he's patting himself on the back for something that the government couldn't do properly and wouldn't have done at all if they weren't dragged there kicking and screaming. The Prime Minister's so-called tax cut left 15 cents a litre on Canadians' gas bills at a time where they're struggling and the government gets a windfall in their pocket. And it's only for a couple months, meaning that the tax returns at 100% in September. So why do they not just properly take off all of the taxes, all 25 cents, for the rest of the year?
The Honourable Minister.
The Conservatives love to talk about the United States. So we've reduced the tax on a litre of gasoline by 28 cents.
Wow.
The United States, zero. We know how to do affordability.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Heritage.
The Prime Minister says that Canadians are keeping up with record costs. MNP reports that gas and grocery prices are straining 3 out of 4 Canadians. 2 in 3 are working harder but not getting ahead. 1 in 3 can't cover their bills and their debt payments. Yesterday, the Prime Minister voted against our motion to cut all taxes on gas and diesel until the end of the year. Nobody is keeping up, Prime Minister, except the rich you keep making richer. Why punish the poor even more when they can scrap the tax on gas today?
Yes.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, there are two competing visions for the Canadian economy being put forward in this House. On the Conservative side, they want the tired approach of cutting taxes for the wealthy and hoping everybody else works things out. On this side of the House, we want to build a strong economy that works for everybody. We have the second fastest growing economy in the G7. We are leading the world in foreign direct investment per capita, and wages are outpacing inflation. Mr. Speaker, we are using this economic growth to support families with more than $1,800 coming through the grocery and essentials benefit, programs that have cut taxes for 22 million Canadians, and continued support to making sure working people can get ahead. That's the Canada I believe in.
The honourable member for Calgary Heritage.
Some economy those Liberals built, MNP, 40% are $200 away from insolvency. StatsCan, the wealthiest now control 2/3 of our net worth. RBC, $1 trillion gone. Imagine 1/3 of our jobs, our economy, gone up in smoke.
Yeah.
They want Canadians demoralized, divided, and disenfranchised because a Prime Minister knows if you stop believing in this country, he gets to remake it. Which Liberal will stand up to defend that?
Yeah.
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, whether it's $190 a year, $1,800 a year, $12,000 a year, no matter the savings that we find for Canadians, you know what the answer is from the Conservative Party? No, not that, Mr. Speaker. Not those savings for families. That's not good enough. Families know that this government is here to support them in these times and in all times. And this is the way you build Canada strong for all.
The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister was elected on a promise to protect the economy from Donald Trump's tariffs. Yet, yesterday, he had no idea what the leader of the Bloc Québécois was talking about when he informed him that Washington had changed its tariffs on aluminium and steel. Now the Americans are imposing tariffs of 25% on the total value of all products containing aluminium or steel. They're taxing not only the metal, but all the added value. It has been 2 weeks since Donald Trump signed this executive order. So what has the Prime Minister done since then to help our businesses? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we appreciate our colleague's question. We share the worries of all MPs with regards to the United States decision 2 weeks ago that applied unjustified tariffs on the total value of certain products and not based on its aluminium or steel content. We are aware of the impacts on the Canadian industry. My colleague, the Minister for Industry, is working on it. I've raised it myself with the US government. A number of us have, and we're working for the most rapid solution possible. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, Donald Trump's new tariff calculations threaten the entire industrial fabric of Quebec that processes aluminium and steel. The result is that companies like BRP are plummeting on the stock market, and others that are set to cut production or even close down, such as Venmar and Drummondville. The Prime Minister must support Quebec's aluminium and steel sectors, including processing. He must also help our SMEs understand how to adapt to the new tariffs through the 58 pages of incomprehensible annexes in Washington's decree. Beyond understanding the file, will the government actually act before our businesses are forced to make redundancies? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, once again, we share the concern my colleague raised. It's an issue in the province of Quebec, but also elsewhere in Canada. In New Brunswick, for example, I've spoken to businesses that are also living difficult times, and that is exactly the reason for which my colleague raised how important it is to help SMEs, workers, and businesses against these unjustified tariffs, and that is exactly what our government is doing. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, we are moving forwards in our negotiations with Americans so they understand that it's not in their economic interests. The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagot-Acton. Mr. Speaker, Quebec is already suffering the most from Donald Trump's tariffs. It's our industrial sectors that are struggling, and it is here that in Quebec, that we're losing the most jobs. All this will get worse with the new tariff calculation, which will tax our aluminium and steel-containing products on their total value, so the added value on top of the metal itself. This sends the message that there is no longer any advantage in processing our resources in Quebec, and it threatens thousands of businesses, both small and large. Mr. Speaker, Ottawa is always there to help the automotive industry in Ontario. When will there be support for Quebec? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, it will come to no shock to you that I won't share my colleagues' pessimism with regards to the Canadian government's obligation to support every region in Canada. We will support all workers, all regions, and all industries. That is what we do. I understand the issues in his riding. The same is true in many other provinces. We don't pick and choose favourites when it comes to defending our Canadian industries. We do so from coast to coast to coast. That is what we do, and that's what we'll continue to do.
The honourable member for Chilliwack Hope.
After a decade of Liberal governments, Canadians are at a breaking point. Here are the sobering statistics. Nearly a third of Canadians say they do not earn enough to cover their bills. Nearly 4 in 10 are worried about losing their job. 3 out of 5 say they're working harder but not getting ahead. But just yesterday, this Liberal government voted against affordability for Canadians yet again. Why won't the Liberals provide Canadians with real relief by adopting our Conservative plan to cut all federal taxes on gas and food?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, that Conservative leader and House leader questioning our Prime Minister's economic education and experience is like a third-line beer league hockey player questioning Conor McGregor's hockey skills. On this side of the House, we're focused on affordability for Canadians. We paused the excise tax, we cut the consumer carbon tax. It's time for that party, that leader, that House leader to get off the bench, support our measures. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Chilliwack Hope.
While Conservatives offer real relief, the Liberals are offering...
Nothing like hockey to get everyone going. The honourable member for Chilliwack Hope.
While Conservatives offer real relief, the Liberals are offering pennies at the pump. Their plan cuts only a third of the taxes they collect on fuel for a third of the year. These tiny tax cuts will be burned up immediately as gas stations are switching over to more expensive summer fuel blends. Liberal taxes are so out of control that 1 in 5 young Canadians say they'll need to go into debt just to pay their tax bill. Why won't the Liberals provide Canadians with real relief instead of half measures and adopt our Conservative plan to...
No, not from the top. No, it's happening on both sides. I think the member got his question in just in time. The time was up anyway. The time was... I'll give the member a few more seconds. What happened?
Why won't the Liberals provide Canadians with real relief instead of half measures and adopt our Conservative plan to cut all taxes on fuel for the rest of the year?
The Honourable Secretary... Whoa. The member, I haven't called on the member yet. The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Speaker, I know that leader's focused on his podcast tour and trying to save his career. On this side, we're focused on affordability. Pause the excise tax. Cut the consumer carbon tax. That's 28 cents a litre. GST for first-time home buyers. The list goes on and on, Mr. Speaker. On that side of the House, as you can see, it's rhymes, rhetoric, and bluster. On this side, we're focused on affordability for Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Fort McMurray Cold Lake.
Nearly 3/4 of Canadians say the rising cost of essentials like food and fuel is putting serious strain on their finances. After years of Liberal policies driving up the cost of living, Canadians are being forced to make impossible choices just to get by. Yet just yesterday, Liberals voted against a motion that would have removed taxes on gas and diesel, lowering prices for families. So the question is simple. Will the Prime Minister listen to hardworking families and remove gas taxes and make life more affordable for Canadians?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, the hypocrisy is dripping from the walls in this place. Conservatives over 6.5 years that I've been in this House, they have opposed every affordability measure that helps real Canadians and families. For 6.5 years, we've seen them vote against childcare, dental care, the Canada Child Benefit. They voted against feeding 400,000 more kids in school. They voted against the Groceries and Essentials Benefit. And now they're saying we should do more at the pump after we just cut the excise tax over the summer, 10 cents at the pump for Canadians, on top of all the other affordability measures we put forward.
Murray Cold Lake.
The reality is 73% of Canadians say they are cutting back on spending. There are already reports of food suppliers adding surcharges to offset the soaring cost of fuel, which will only increase the cost of food. Food banks are reporting they're spending more on fuel and less on food as demand continues to soar. Families need relief today, yet the Prime Minister's solution is a temporary half measure, leaving gas taxes largely in place. Every tax on fuel is a tax on families and a tax on food. So will they do the right thing and remove all taxes on gas, yes or no?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister. Just a moment. I'm calling on the member. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, it seems that Conservatives are fiercely determined to become even more unpopular. It's due to the Conservatives, I'm sure, playing political games with Canadians and the struggles they're facing today while opposing affordability measures. It's just disingenuous. The woes of Canadians are not to be trifled with. On this side of the House, we know that. That's why we're providing immediate federal support in the form of another 10-cent tax cut at the pump, an income tax cut for 22 million Canadians, and offering a Groceries and Essentials benefit that will put over $1,800 into the family.
The Honourable Member for Chatham-Kent-Leamington.
Mr. Speaker, 74% of Canadians report that rising gas and food prices are killing their household budgets. While the Liberals claim they care about affordability, food banks are literally removing meat from their shelves because it's too expensive to stock. Now, add the fuel surcharges being introduced by some food suppliers on deliveries to grocery stores. Does the Prime Minister truly believe that his temporary 10-cent per litre reduction, which expires after Labor Day, will fix the supply chain crushed by his industrial carbon tax and now rising fuel prices?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You know, it's what the Conservatives don't say in their prepared speeches that is written by the Conservative leader that Canadians really need to know is how they plan to pay for these outlandish and irresponsible proposals, Mr. Speaker. They can question the economic acumen of one of the most world-renowned economists if they like, but what Canadians know is that Liberals are delivering on affordable childcare and dental care, and our government is meeting the moment with...
How much time is left? The honourable member, order please, order. The honourable member has 7 seconds left.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. I don't know if the Conservatives are angry because they can't read or because they're told what to say in this place. Either way, we've got Canadians' backs.
The honourable member for Chatham-Kent-Leamington.
Mr. Speaker, these Liberals are going to have to pick a lane. On the one hand, they literally claim that a hidden industrial carbon tax buried in the food supply chain doesn't affect the price of groceries. But on the other hand, they offer temporary half measures of relief for Canadians from rising fuel prices, acknowledging that the hidden costs, the excise taxes and fuel prices, and are still pocketing the higher tax revenues generated from those same rising fuel prices. Why did they vote against our plan to remove all fuel taxes for the entire year?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
Thanks very much. much, Mr. Speaker. The hidden cost is exactly what the Conservatives are hiding from Canadians. What are they going to cut to pay for their irresponsible suggestions? They're going to cut childcare. They're going to cut dental care. They're not going to do a tax cut for 22 million Canadians, and they're certainly not going to do a groceries and essentials benefit. How do we know? Because they voted against every single affordability proposal the government's put on the table for them to vote for. Mr. Speaker, they can question the economic acumen of a world-renowned economist if they like, but Canadians can see right through this bluster. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker. Liberal policy, Canadians aren't just stretched, they're falling behind. New data shows 61% of Canadians feel financial whiplash from economic instability. 74% say rising costs for essentials are straining their finances. And 43% are just $200 away from insolvency each month. One senior told me she needs just $100 more a month to avoid the food bank. But even that is now out of reach. Families are cutting back, worried about job security, and in too many cases still not earning enough to cover their bills. Is this the unaffordability reality that these Liberals are deciding for Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, since our government took office, we've been squarely focused on the issues that my colleague opposite raises. In fact, you can start to see the proof in the pudding here. Wages for Canadians right now are up 4.7% in the past year, while inflation's at about 1.8%. That is making a difference in the affordability in the lives of Canadians. But Mr. Speaker, right now, at this time of year, Canadians are focused on tax season. They're focused on affordability. That's why we've cut taxes for 22 million Canadians and introduced a groceries benefit that is going to help a lot of the seniors in that member's riding when it comes into effect this spring.
The honourable member for Drummond. Mr. Speaker, we cannot praise the work of regional news media highly enough, but the last few remaining in Quebec will close if Ottawa does not act rapidly. When the CRTC added 15 global news stations to the Independent Local News Fund, it also added 15 new players to share the same pot of money. And so, the share of funding for French language media has halved. They risk disappearing. In 12 days' time, the Liberals will present an economic update. Will they replenish this essential fund? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, like the member knows full well, be it through the tax credit, through the media fund, or for the Independent Local News Fund, there will always be a strong, independent French media landscape. The Honourable Member for Drummond. We almost got an answer, Mr. Speaker. There's an economic update in 12 days' time, and the future of French language regional news media will be decided there. We can't wait for the web giants to stop challenging our laws to avoid paying their fair share. We're running out of time. Ottawa must increase the fund. I must offer electronic media its tax credit for journalistic labour, just as it already does for print media. It must also stop rewarding advertising on GAFAM platforms. The future is being decided right now. Will the economic update come to the rescue of our regional news media? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we will never stop supporting journalists in their effort. We'll never stop supporting independent francophone media, but it's ironic that the Bloc Québécois is asking us to strengthen a $127 million fund against which they voted. The Honourable Member for Charlesbourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, since the US tariffs were imposed, Canadian exports have fallen by more than 15% and jobs are being lost from coast to coast to coast. Furthermore, the Canadian International Trade Tribunal has confirmed that steel from China is being dumped in Canada and is causing direct harm to our workers. Our businesses are being hit from both sides. You have US tariffs on one side and unfair competition from China on the other. During the last election campaign, the Prime Minister said he was the only one capable of resolving the conflict with Donald Trump. But now Canadians are struggling to pay their bills and are now losing their jobs. Why did he make that promise if he knew he would fail? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's true that there's something that we don't control. The legitimate and unjustified tariffs from the US government. What we can control is the help that we provide to Canadians, to the middle class. Inflation is at the lower end of BOC forecasts. Are 4.7%. Salary increases are the highest in the G7. The IMF says that we'll have the second highest G7 growth. That is what it means to build a strong Canada. The honourable member for Charlebourg-Saint-Charles. Can the minister go speak to the employees in PACCAR that lost 700 jobs? BRP has seen losses of over $500 million, a 35% drop in their share price. Once again, Quebec workers are in danger. These aren't abstract figures. These are real consequences. Once again, during the campaign, the Prime Minister said that he was the only person in the whole wide world who could solve the Donald Trump problem. We're losing jobs today. It's a disaster. And now China on top of all this. What will the Prime Minister do? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What we have been doing for nearly a year is renegotiating our relations with the United States. We won't just sign any document, any old agreement. It must be to our benefit as well. We'll also, in the meantime, support our businesses as we did with PACCAR, because PACCAR was affected by tariffs, and our government negotiated a package of measures to help PACCAR weather this storm. The honourable member for Louis Saint-Laurent, Acawenrac. Mr. Speaker, we thought we'd seen everything in the Liberal mismanagement of the CRA. Whilst all families are struggling with this Liberal food inflation, the CRA, well, we've learnt this morning that the CRA paid out $5 million to a fraudster who submitted a bogus claim. That's $5 million with no oversight. This after 10 years of Liberal governance of the CRA. Can someone finally own up to what's going on?
Mr. Speaker, Connor McDavid is a great hockey player. Abuse of the tax season, Mr. Speaker, is illegal, and the CRA takes enforcement action when instances of abuse are identified. We can't comment on specific cases and matters before the courts. Canadians can be assured that the CRA will always take every measure to ensure tax fairness. When the debt is established to the CRA, the agency takes legal action if necessary, using all available measures to ensure compliance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Louis Saint-Laurent Acawenrac. Now, Mr. Speaker, the CRA gave $5 million to a fraudsters. For 10 years now, these people have been saying that the CRA knows what it's doing. But what happens is honest citizens who make a little mistake of $100, say, on their tax return, it's the end of the world for the CRA. But here the CRA has given $5 million to a fraudster. The minister shouldn't be hiding behind the fact that you can't talk about individual cases. $5 million, that makes no sense. Stand up and defend it.
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respect the member opposite and appreciate his passion. And we know abuse of the tax system is illegal. The CRA processes millions and millions of tax returns per year. They do an outstanding job overall. We're in tax season right now. It's my chance to tell Canadians, file your taxes for April 30th, please. But we can't comment on individual tax cases before the courts. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, my granddaughter Clémence, the 8th of my grandchildren, was just born last night.
Hear, hear. Bravo. Way to go.
And what's she got as a gift? Well, debt of $44,716 from this liberal federal government. And that's a great start in life. On top of that, the Prime Minister is offering her a 4-cent discount on diesel. Imagine that, Mr. Speaker. 4 cents a litre, Mr. Speaker. What is this? How will 4 cents a litre help my beautiful new granddaughter Clémence start her life? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, we would love to welcome Clémence to this world, but I'd like to say to the member across the way, when she grows up, he's going to have difficult questions to answer. For example, why after eight grandchildren, the Canada Child Benefit, that equals lots of money each month, and unfortunately the member across the way voted against that benefit. So, we could understand the disappointment of Clémence, but you know what? The member can fix all that. He can stand up and apologize for voting against those measures.
The honourable member for Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, wild Pacific salmon are a part of who we are for everyone who calls British Columbia and Yukon home. Climate change and habitat loss are already putting additional pressure on this threatened species. We have a responsibility to help this species rebuild, Mr. Speaker. Can the Minister of Fisheries tell us what this government is doing to help protect wild salmon populations for everyone in British Columbia and along the West Coast?
Excellent question.
Minister of Fisheries and Ocean.
I'd like to thank my colleague for his commitment to wild salmon. Wild Pacific salmon is a vital part of the economy of the West Coast. I was in British Columbia recently to announce our government's new commitment of close to $143 million in funding for the Pacific Salmon Strategy Initiative. This brings our federal commitment to wild Pacific salmon to over $1 billion to support science, restore habitat, and modernize salmon fisheries. Together, we can rebuild the wild salmon and build a stronger economy.
The honourable member for Mission Maxqui Abbotsford.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business released a damning report saying Canada is now in an entrepreneurial drought, with more businesses closing than opening for 6 straight quarters. More than half of small business owners would not recommend starting a business in this country, and there are now 100,000 fewer entrepreneurs than we had 20 years ago. Most damning is that 73% of survey respondents indicated a lack of confidence in this Liberal government. So what is the Prime Minister's response to the alarming decline of entrepreneurship in Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Women, Gender Equality, Tourism and Small Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Small businesses have shown incredible resilience as we continue to face this trade war. We are cutting red tape for small businesses. We're improving access for financing for them, and we're helping SMEs pivot to new markets while the Prime Minister secures trade agreements with other countries. Mr. Speaker, our Buy Canadian policy is giving Canadian businesses those opportunities to secure procurement opportunities. That is strengthening our economy, that is creating jobs, and ensuring we're giving them all the opportunities to grow and thrive, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Mission Maxqui Abbotsford.
Well, Mr. Speaker, whatever the government's doing, it's not working, and a myriad of programs will not replace the structural reforms necessary to improve the entrepreneurial climate in Canada. Small businesses indeed are being squeezed from every direction by this government, with higher payroll taxes, rising costs, and endless regulations. This government's doing nothing to stop that. How many more businesses have to shut their doors before the Prime Minister reverses some of these horrible economic policies and let Canadians entrepreneurs succeed once again?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, unlike the Canada is broken narrative from the Conservatives, we believe in our small businesses. Reports show that Canada is attracting the highest level of foreign direct investment. In fact, we are now second place in the G7. The world trusts Canada with our strong economy and our resilience. Under the leadership of our Prime Minister, we're ensuring we're securing trade agreements, we're creating jobs, and we're strengthening our economy, Mr. Speaker. That is how we empower small businesses in this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Yesterday, the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses delivered its verdict on the Prime Minister's economy. Canada is in an entrepreneurial drought. For 6 consecutive quarters, more businesses have closed than opened. 55% of Canadian business owners now would not recommend opening a business in this country. High costs, crushing red tape, punishing taxes, that is the Liberal record. After over a decade of this Liberal government, when will the Prime Minister finally reverse their job-crippling policies so Canadian businesses can thrive?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just recently we've seen foreign direct investment is at an all-time high in decades. Kraft Heinz is investing $250 million in Montreal. Bayer is investing $45 million in canola research in Winnipeg. Fornera Ice Cream Giant is expanding its Canadian operation. Mars Canada is investing $180 million across Ontario. Coca-Cola is investing $141 million into its Brampton facility. Mr. Speaker, all these companies believe in Canada, Canadians. Why don't the opposition?
The honourable member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite can recite his talking points all afternoon, but 97,000 entrepreneurs have already revealed the truth. High costs, high taxes, red tape. All of that driving entrepreneurs out of this country. A recent RBC report highlighted $1 trillion in capital flight over the last 10 years. These Liberals never want to talk about that. The Leaders Founder report has said more than 2/3 of Canadian entrepreneurs now starting businesses outside of the country. So, will the Prime Minister commit today to reversing tax and regulatory policies, shutting down Canadian businesses? Yes or no?
The honourable minister.
You know, Mr. Speaker, I heard a little bit of chatter about the RBC most recent report, and it says, I quote, Canada is back on the radar for global investors. Canada reached nearly $100 billion, the highest level since 2015. We are strengthening domestic food processing, increasing capital-public partnership investments, reducing regulatory impediments, growing and diversifying our markets. We're working alongside business communities right across the country to make this place a much better place.
Honourable member for Prince Albert.
Mr. Speaker, with record closures across the country, Canada's small businesses are sounding the alarm. High costs, red tape, and never-ending uncertainty are discouraging the next generation of entrepreneurs. But don't take it from me, Mr. Speaker. Brianna Solberg of the CFIB warns that Canada's economic foundation is crumbling. After 10 years of bad Liberal policy, half of small business owners say they would not recommend starting a business. Why do these Liberals continue to make it harder, not easier, for small businesses here in Canada?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, we recently launched a defence industrial strategy for the country, and it's taking hold. Already, $14 billion in annual revenue, contributing to over 81,000 direct, 200,000 indirect jobs. In the joint support ships alone, Mr. Speaker, 3,100 jobs. River-class destroyer ships, 9,000 jobs. Fixed-wing search and rescue, 1,800 jobs. Logistics vehicle modernization, 1,500 jobs. Mr. Speaker, there are tens of thousands of more jobs coming for our small and medium-sized businesses.
The honourable member for St. John, St. Croix.
Mr. Speaker, back home in New Brunswick, families pay 32 cents more per litre for gasoline than drivers in neighbouring Maine. The price difference is not because of global markets. Pumps on both sides of the Maine-New Brunswick border get their supply from the St. John refinery. The difference is because of Liberal tax increases. Canadians can no longer afford to buy the things that we make here in Canada because of high energy taxes. Will the Liberals listen to Conservatives and cut gas prices 25 cents a litre by eliminating all federal gas taxes?
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, it's interesting he talks about the United States. Well, we have cut taxes by 28 cents a litre already. The United States has cut the taxes on gases by 0. That's the difference between a government that cares about affordability and one that doesn't.
Member for St. John, St. Croix.
Mr. Speaker, the United States never had a carbon tax that this government implemented. They drove up energy taxes for 10 years. And then when Canadians were screaming when paying, they cut them. But they still won't go all the way and reduce the federal gas tax, the industrial carbon tax, the clean fuel standards that keeps prices sky high. When will this government act, cut the taxes, and give Canadians the break they need and deserve?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I just said, we have already cut the gas tax by 28 cents. Wow. But we're not stopping there. We've cut taxes for 22 million people. We've cut the GST. We've introduced the Canadian Groceries and Essentials benefit. And with all the measures, we've made housing cheaper by $200,000 a home, Mr. Speaker. That's what making affordability looks like.
The honourable member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, according to Statistics Canada, London's unemployment rate has climbed to 9.1%, the highest in Canada. Meanwhile, RBC reports that more than $1 trillion in capital has left Canada since the Liberals took power in 2015. London has the workers, the talent, and the potential. The Liberals promised to build like never before, but Londoners are not seeing this at all. Will they finally unleash Canada's economy, attract investments, and finally create the conditions for businesses to grow and London's to thrive?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
London certainly does have the talent and the potential for a great future. For too long, our region has been dependent on trade. We are diversifying now. The unemployment rate he talks about, yes, it is an immense challenge, but we're focusing on, among other things, defense. $6 billion over the next few years will give us 125,000 jobs by 2035. Wow. Southwestern Ontario and London are a defense anchor in this country in particular. We look forward to defense. We want to invest in it. We will get that job done. That's right.
The honourable member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are very good at making promises and excuses, but Londoners need results today. Global uncertainty should be a wake-up call to strengthen our competitiveness at home so Canada has leverage abroad. Yet beyond rhetoric, this government has taken no meaningful action. It has failed to unleash our energy, failed to advance pipelines or any major projects, while doubling down on anti-business taxes and regulations like the industrial carbon tax that drive capital out of Canada. Hear, hear. When will this government finally take competitiveness seriously, scrap the industrial carbon tax, and make Canada, including London, a place businesses want to invest in?
Hear, hear.
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Speaks with passion for London. Every member in this House of Commons who represents London and the Southwest has passion. And so I invite my colleague. Yes, we need more investment in London. We will see that through the defense spending that I just mentioned before, among other things. But let's open our hearts, in fact, to the suffering that exists when we come to the analysis of what's going on in this country. They talk about the need of people on the ground. They don't want to support dental care. They don't want to support farmer care. They don't want to support the Canada Child Benefit. They don't want to support any of these initiatives to help people in a very difficult time. It's unacceptable.
The honourable member for Mont-Saint-Bruno-L'Acadie. Mr. Speaker, we are diversifying our trade, and we're moving forward with major projects. And we're working to double our exports outside the United States. Last week, we announced the start of construction on the transformative expansion project at the Port of Montreal in Contrecoeur. Could the Minister of Transport tell us why this project is important and what it's going to change concretely for Canadians? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, I was proud last week to accompany my honourable colleague and the Prime Minister and many, many of our members from Quebec to announce the beginning of the work to increase the size of the Contrecoeur container terminal in Montreal. It's a mega project, Mr. Speaker, that is going to see the Port of Montreal's capacity grow by 60%. We are very, very proud, and this is just the most recent example of how we are building Canada strong with the men and women and materials that Canada can offer.
Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' contempt for accountability knows no bounds. For days, Liberal MPs have been filibustering at the Ethics Committee to shield the Finance Minister from answering questions about his role in handing out billions of tax dollars to Alto, handing billions of tax dollars to a company in which his partner serves as a VP. Now, incredibly, the minister claims there's nothing to see here and that everything was above board. Well, if that is the case, why the obstruction? Why won't the minister come to committee?
Yeah, why not?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, of course, Mr. Speaker, Canada has among the strictest ethics rules in the world. All members of this House and designated public office holders must follow those rules to the letter, and that is certainly the case in the case of the Minister of Finance. But let's talk about high-speed rail. The Conservatives promising to cancel a nation-building, unifying, project that helps build the country and will change the face of mobility in Canada. We are going to press ahead. We are going to build high-speed rail, and we're going to get it done quickly, Mr. Speaker.
Member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, do you know what it's called when a minister of the Crown repeatedly introduces, speaks to, and votes on legislation that hands billions of tax dollars to a company that his partner is connected to? It's called a conflict of interest. Isn't that the real reason for the obstruction? Isn't that why the minister is afraid to come to committee?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, I just repeat again for the Honourable Member, the Minister of Finance has followed the strictest rules in the world, and he has followed them to the letter. But what this member needs to do is walk down to the front row and tell his leader to get out of the way, off of the tracks, because high-speed rail is coming right at him. It's coming fast, and it's coming with Canadian steel, Canadian aluminum, Canadian lumber, and Canadian workers barreling right down.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Well, what Canadians would like is for the Liberals to get out of the way of accountability that Canadians expect to be brought to bear against a government, against a minister that said he would be in a conflict of interest because his partner is a vice president at Alto if he voted on this project, if he debated it, if he discussed it, if he decided on it at cabinet. And that's why we're asking for the minister to come to committee. It's a conflict of interest dealing with $90 billion. That's right. Why is it that these Liberals are doing everything they can to block accountability with their filibuster? When will the minister come to committee?
Here, here. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we have the strictest rules in the world. We indeed have a conflict of interest commissioner. This matter has been put before that conflict of interest commissioner. This member knows very, very well many times and has found precisely zero, Mr. Speaker. That is because the Minister of Finance rigorously follows the rules, as do we all. And as for high-speed rail, which will go very close to, if not through, this member's region, he should be ashamed of getting in the way of high-speed rail that Canadians look forward to.
The Honourable Member for Halifax.
Mr. Speaker, workers in federally regulated sectors, whether they're in banking, telecommunications, or interprovincial transportation, need their wages to keep pace with the cost of living. Effective on April 1st, the federal minimum wage increased once again. Could the Secretary of State for Labour explain what this increase means for workers in federally regulated sectors?
The Secretary of State for Labour.
I'd like to thank the member for Halifax for that question and for the hard work she's doing on behalf of her community. Mr. Speaker, we're focused on growing the economy and supporting Canadian workers. That's why the federal minimum wage is indexed to inflation, as one increased to $18.15 on April 1st, representing a 21% increase since 2021. Wow. Mr. Speaker, these are steady, predictable increases that benefit workers. It's about fairness, stability, and building an economy that works for everyone, Mr. Speaker. Our new government is building Canada strong for all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
The Islamic Republic of Iran jails dissidents, massacres its own people, exports terror, and is formally listed by Canada as a state sponsor of terrorism. Yet just last week, the Liberals backed the regime in Iran for a seat on the UN Committee for Program and Coordination, a body that helps shape policy on human rights, women's rights, disarmament, and terrorism prevention. Canadians are wondering why this Liberal government is elevating a murderous terrorist regime at the United Nations. So Conservatives are asking again, why are the Liberals and their Liberal UN appointee legitimizing the Ayatollahs, and is this really where the Prime Minister's values stand?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Canada does not support Iran for positions of influence in the United Nations. Iran was nominated to the UN Committee for Program and Coordination by acclamation. As the position was uncontested, there was no opportunity for a vote. The vote to elect nominated candidates will take place in the UN General Assembly in November 2026. Canada works closely with partners to actively counter Iran's candidacies in UN bodies and will continue to do so on all occasions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, while this government lets oil companies rake in record profits and gouge Canadians at the pump, Imperial Oil is now reporting another major spill, 843,000 litres of toxins, salt, and bitumen. Meanwhile, Indigenous leaders are waiting for action on more than 1 trillion litres of toxic tailings leaking into watersheds in northern Alberta. What will it take for this government to protect Canadians, to respect Indigenous rights, and to enforce environmental laws in this country?
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, Canada's pipeline network is held with strict standards and protects communities and the environment. Regulators provide independent oversight and overseeing all responses and enforcement efforts. Pipelines remain the safest way and the most cost-effective way to move large volumes of oil and gas, and Canada has a strong safety record. In all cases, federal regulations ensure that companies, not taxpayers, are financially liable for the incidents and the reclamation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Vancouver East.
Yesterday, the NDP moved a unanimous consent motion in this House to ban surveillance pricing, and every party agreed except the Liberals, who blocked it. Meanwhile, Canadians are struggling with the cost of living, and corporations are using algorithms to figure out how much more they can squeeze out of family budgets and seniors living on fixed incomes. Why did the government block this common sense measure, and will the Prime Minister commit today to banning surveillance pricing in Canada? Yes or no?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Well, Canadians know that competition drives the economy, and they expect companies to be fair and transparent to consumers. As the Competition Bureau reported earlier this year, algorithmic pricing can lead to fewer choices and higher costs for Canadians. Our position is clear. We want more choice, more competition, and better prices for Canadians, Mr. Speaker. That is why we are actively reviewing algorithmic pricing across sectors, including through competition, finance, and private policy.
Yeah. And that concludes. Is there a point of order from the Minister of Fisheries?
I incorrectly said that PSSI in BC was 143 million. It is 412 million.
Noted. We thank the member we thank the member for clarifying that. The Honourable Member for Okanagan Lake Country West, South Kelowna.
Mr. Speaker, while we're just talking about corrections, I just want to thank the Minister of State for CRA, for National Revenue, for delineating the difference between Conor McGregor and Conor McDavid. I will say to his credit that he is more right than when Canadians phone into the CRA and ask for questions. But thank you.
That concludes question period and points of order. Alors, on va attendre quelques instants.
We'll wait a few moments for those who wish may leave the chamber.
Assez rapidement.
Rather quickly, please. And silently, please.